Before we begin, just a point of order. The first lecture will be in German, and you are invited to take headphones. There will be simultaneous translation. You're invited to take headphones from the table on the side of the room, and please return them during the first break. Okay. Dear friends and colleagues, I am honored to welcome you to the second International Conference of the Bologna Training Center. I believe we have prepared an interesting and stimulating afternoon for you, and we shall begin. The Bologna Training Center was established in early 2012 under the auspices of the Center for the Study of European Politics and Society at Ben-Gurion University, and with the generous support of the Konrad-Adenauer-Stiftung in Israel, for which we are grateful. The center's activities are based on the work of 3 PhD students in European studies, Hila Zahavi, Hannah Moskowitz, and Yoav Friedman. I would like to acknowledge their achievements, and especially to thank Yoav for organizing this conference. I would also like to thank Shirley Gordon, not of the Bologna Training Center, but of the European Center, who has given us a lot of assistance, and of course, Katharine Hirschwitz from the CAS offices, without whom we would never have gotten to where we are. Concerning the 3 PhD students I mentioned, who are the backbone of the center, there have been many moments when their work resembled slavery more than employment, but they were not deterred, and I personally am very grateful. The center was established in response to an acute need in Israel. It was becoming more and more clear that Israel's higher education system must evolve an informed response, a policy towards the European higher education area and its attendant measures: Bologna, internationalization, reform, and modernization of higher education. However, there was no established source in Israel of information and training in this area. What we had was a great deal of ignorance. The response to the establishment of the BTC was quick to come, and the center has been working at capacity with over 20 higher education institutions. On a positive note, we have witnessed in 2012 the beginnings of a public discourse within the higher education establishment concerning these matters of Bologna, internationalization, the European higher education area. The theme for this year's conference, non-EU OECD countries' response to the Bologna process, resulted from a growing awareness that our higher education system must position itself in relation to the European higher education area, and it must have an appreciation of how those countries with which Israel's higher education has traditionally had an affinity and decades of cooperation, what was the response in these countries, how they have been reacting, and what we can learn from them. We had hoped today to examine the phenomenon of what I call the businessifying globalization of education and the spread of offshore university ventures. With regret, I must apologize that one of our speakers, Professor Joel Bernstein, for family reasons, will not be able to be with us. Joel has been teaching for the last 3 years at New York University's new campus in Abu Dhabi. And he was involved with the development of this venture in Abu Dhabi. And we thought it could be extremely interesting to contrast his experience with the experience that we will have presented by the Technion on what is Israel's first major offshore venture that the Technion has been initiating with Cornell University in the United States. We will hear about that from Professor Fagan. Although many people have the impression that the Bologna process began with the Bologna Declaration adopted by the ministers of education of 29 European countries in 1999, the real beginning was in May of 1998 at the celebration of the 800th anniversary of the University of Paris, when the education ministers of Italy, France, the United Kingdom, and Germany met and drafted the Sorbonne Declaration. And we are very fortunate that today we have with us one of the four architects of this declaration, Dr. Jürgen Rutgers, at that time the Minister for Education, Sciences, Research and Technology in Germany. I'd like to welcome Michael Mertes, Mr. Michael Mertes, the director of the Konrad-Adenauer Foundation in Israel, to welcome us and greet us. Michael, please.